Hi there, I'm Matt Christensen, the investigative reporter at KWQC, and welcome back to TV6 Investigates Talks. This is a weekly segment on Thursdays on our digital platforms where we break down a story we've done this week in a little more detail. I'm here with Heidi Connect, who's a member of the Investigates team, and today we're going to talk a little bit about an investigation at the Scott County Sheriff's Department.
So you were at the courthouse all day yesterday for a hearing. How did you hear about the hearing?
Yeah,
First off.
we got a tip that there was a Scott County deputy that was being let go and was appealing his the decision to let him go. From there, that started our own investigation into what was going on. And from there, we learned that there was a deputy named Josh Wall who thought that a parole officer in the 7th Judicial District was keeping a GPS device on a registered sex offender for longer than the parole officer was supposed to. So the deputy started looking into it. Problem is, he didn't alert any of the top supervisors in the sheriff's department. Reason is, the parole officer is the sheriff's wife. So this is where it gets really complicated. And so the hearing yesterday was to determine whether Wall should be reinstated and, really essentially have his name cleared.
Who were some of the people, you say the higher-ups, that should have been, he says he didn't
Alert.
alert. Yeah.
Right. It's not even just the higher-ups. The county attorney testified, the sheriff testified at the hearings yesterday. There were multiple other law enforcement officers who also testified, and they explained that when an investigation is opened, there's always a case file that gets opened along with that and entered into the system. In this case, there was no case file ever created, so that there was no way for supervisors to know that Wall was even conducting this investigation. And that was the point that they really tried to hammer home yesterday, was without any documentation, there was no way to provide any kind of supervision over this investigation at all.
Or perhaps support even. Did they talk about what would have happened if he had let people know about?
Sure. I think it goes more to the question is, why didn't he? Mm-hmm. And I think he definitely saw that there was a conflict of interest because the sheriff and his wife were both involved. And he was worried that it would compromise his investigation if he were to come forward within the sheriff's department. The sheriff's department says, hey, there's other recourses that could have been done. He could have gone to the county attorney's office. He could have alerted, other officials along the way, and he chose not to for whatever reason. Ultimately, the report made its way to the Attorney General's office.
So it went from Wall to the Attorney General?
By a circuitous route.
Mm-hmm.
Circuitous route. The investigation fell into the hands of Senator Chris Conoyer, who's from the Quad Cities. From there, it went to the Attorney General's office, but copies of it started to circulate during the legislative session in Des Moines. So there were multiple senators who saw this complaint. Fast forward to the spring then is when it sounds like that the department became aware that this had occurred just this year. So this has all happened pretty fast.
Okay, what did the prosecutor talk about when she took the stand?
Well, she talked about the fact that there was no crime to begin with, that Wall should not have even been looking into the GPS situation because it wasn't a crime. If anything, it would have been a civil rights violation that would have been conducted not through a criminal process, right? So, essentially, he would have had to sue. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing that rises to the level of a crime, is what the county attorney emphasized over and over again. Wall's lawyer, disputes a lot of this. I mean, obviously, there's some conflict, and it depends on who you ask on how this went down. But according to the county attorney, she saw that there was no crime here to begin with, and that the investigation should have never even started.
Mm-hmm. So the point of this hearing was to get his job back?
Yeah, it's the Civil Service Commission hearing, and they oversee situations like this when a government employee is let go and then appeals that decision. So it's a 3-person panel. They're all appointed, and they were the ones who sort of saw over the hearing or managed the hearing yesterday. It wasn't in a courtroom. It was in the administration building. So. But it was definitely run like a normal court proceeding would be. There were witnesses called, they were sworn in, a court reporter was there to record everything. There was, sort of a defense table where Wall and his lawyer were at, and then there was another table where some attorneys from the county prosecutor's office sat as well. So you saw testimony from Kelly Cunningham, the chief prosecutor in Scott County. You saw testimony from Sheriff Tim Lane, and you don't usually see the chief prosecutor on a witness stand. So yeah, it was an unusual setting.
All right, anything stick out to you that maybe?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that it boils down to who knew what, when, that kind of stuff. And there were different versions of that presented in court yesterday. It's a lot to sort through. There were binders for the attorneys that looked to be about that thick that, had evidence, testimony, other things already in it. So it's not a situation where the Civil Service Commission is going to rule overnight. They have up to 30 days to make a decision. That decision then will finally determine, the outcome of this case. But, to me, it's just a remarkable case because you don't see this kind of thing very often. The fact that, the sheriff's spouse was involved, and the sheriff and the sheriff's department, just makes it really stand out and be a noteworthy case. Because, like I said, you don't see the county attorney on the witness stand very often, and that kind of thing. So definitely an interesting case, one that we're going to continue to track. And if you missed our report, you can check it out on kwqc.com or on any of our other digital platforms. In the meantime, you can always check us out too at TV6 Investigates on the TV6 Investigates tab on our main page. And if you want to see any of the reporting, you can check it out there. Otherwise, we'll be back next Thursday with a deeper look at a story we'll uncover next week. So thanks for joining me. This is How You Connect. I'm Matt Christensen. See you soon.